Big Gamer out here. How are you guys doing today? I'm super. Thanks for asking. Hey guys, today we're going to discuss what I think are the top 10 games of 2016 so far. So all of these games I've spent a decent amount of time with. Because it's partway through the year, there's a few I haven't quite beat yet. But on the whole, I've spent a long time with these games, and these are the ones that I think you should consider and have a look at. One thing that's worth noting is I don't play a great deal of downloadable games. I play the ones that really speak to me. I'm mostly a retail kind of big games guy, so you're going to see a little bit more of that. So if I just start by talking about my kind of honourable mention, or my number 11 if you will, which I'm going to have as Alakine's Gun. Apologies if I don't pronounce that right, but basically what this game is, you're going to enjoy this game if you're a fan of the old school Hitman games. So what I'm talking about is like Hitman 2 kind of era, where it's all about exploiting the enemy AI and their patterns, and if you have fun in games kind of working out these are the gameplay mechanics, how can I exploit them, this is the game for you. It's not about flashy cutscenes or big budgets. This is a budget title, and it's nice to see that kind of B tier games can still sell and be produced these days, because with people like Midway and THQ going under, it's just nice to see developers still taking risks on games like this. And I'm a big fan of kind of Hitman gameplay anyway, so yeah. Alakine's Gun is number 11. For number 10, guys, I've gone with Star Fox Zero. Now, most people are going to be wondering why is this game on the list, because there's this kind of perception that this isn't a very good game, which is untrue. Or two, why isn't this further up the list? And this is a game I haven't beaten yet, guys, but the first 3 or 4 hours that I've spent with the game have actually proven to be quite fun. There is a lot of gameplay options here, with different kind of ways you control it, especially when you go into walker mode and stuff like that. And the game looks great, despite how it was showed off last E3. Actually, by the time of release, the game actually does look fairly decent, and I think Platinum have done a decent job in a short space of time to turn this game around, because I've had quite a bit of fun with it. Okay, guys. For number 9, I've gone with a game that's literally just been released, which is Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Now, if you've played the original Mirror's Edge, you've got a decent idea what this is about. So, a lot of people weren't overawed with the open world nature of the new one, saying there wasn't compelling enough reason to explore and investigate and the rest of it. But if you treat this game similar to LA Noire or Mafia 2, whereas if you don't do all of this side stuff, if you kind of see it as an extension of the story, it actually gives you a lot more options as far as the parkour goes. So if you're playing for a mission, there's actually several ways you can get from to point A and B, whereas in the first Mirror's Edge you were kind of restricted to one or two specific paths that you could take to successfully navigate an area, and this kind of just opens up the gameplay and lets the game breathe a little bit more. So nothing much has changed. Game looks the same, still looks good. It looks like Mirror's Edge did, it plays like Mirror's Edge did. The combat's improved a bit there, and there's an extra few physicsy things you can do with that. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the first Mirror's Edge. This plays just like the first Mirror's Edge, really, to me. It feels very much like the same thing, and I'm enjoying my time with it. So guys, for number 8, I'm going to go with UFC 2. Now, I was really pumped for the new UFC on next-gen consoles, and when it came out, I was really disappointed that they went kind of the way a lot of publishers do, especially EA. When they go to a new set of systems, they tend to focus on engine and then strip away game modes and content, and I feel like UFC 2 is the point where they throw that content back in again. So you've still got a great graphics engine, and it has been improved for the new entry, and there's a lot more fighters, but what they've gone and done is they've extended all of the modes and given you more options for play, and the game's got a lot more legs because of it. I've been enjoying knocking people out in the career modes. There's the fun little multiplayer kind of knock your friend out mode, where it kind of takes away a lot of the more complex grappling and stuff and just lets you throw punches. And and the systems, I found the game a little bit easier to get into this time, and to be honest, it's just a great game, guys. So if you're into MMA at all or fighting games, then I would check out UFC 2. It's a good game. Alright guys, for number 7 I've gone with Far Cry Primal. Now this game was reviewed well. Most people gave it an 8 something, I think. But a lot of people leveled it out. Oh, why have we got another Far Cry? It's just Far Cry with less weapons and stuff like that. Far Cry with sticks. Or, you've heard all of the analogies there. But for me, I've always loved the emergent gameplay in Far Cry. And even though I'm more of a Far Cry 1 kind of guy, and that was a massive game for me, and the multiplayer and all the rest of it back on PC and Xbox back in the day. I have enjoyed the last few Far Cries, and I don't mind going back every kind of 18 months to 2 years and playing a new one. But I really enjoyed the change of pace, and I enjoyed the new types of enemies. I enjoyed as always the really addictive crafting and looting, and that's where it comes from for me. It's just interacting with the systems in the game is still fun, and it's a nice change of pace, not relying on guns and cars all the time. So I actually really enjoyed it. So that was my number 7, guys. Okay, for my number 6, I've gone with a controversial choice in Dying Light: The Following. Now, a lot of you will shout at me, this is just an expansion pack, all the rest of it. Now, with The Following, it's actually a standalone game, and you can get it retail bundled in with the original Dying Light, which is a package I really, really suggest you take up, guys, because at the moment you could probably pick it up for about 30 quid or about 40 bucks, something like that. And it not only comes with the original Dying Light, but they've actually revamped the whole engine, so the things like the foliage and the frame rates and stuff are much more stable on the next-gen consoles now if you buy this version. And not only that, but you get the great kind of standalone content that is The Following, which kind of adds a whole new skill trees for cars and stuff like that, upgrading vehicles, looting fuel, which is a great mechanic, and also all of the extra kind of the story player content and stuff that comes with that. And I think as a package, I've just had so much fun with that, and that's my number 6, guys. My number 5, I'm going to go with a downloadable title, at the moment at least, which is Layers of Fear, which is, I think, kind of PS4, Xbox One, and PC. I think you can get that on, and it, for the price, I just love the content you get in here. The engine doesn't come across as being on a lower budget. It looks fantastic, this game. The atmosphere is amazing. The game sets itself up really, really well in the first hour. There's great environmental storytelling. It really gives you the creeps from time to time, building atmosphere and stuff like that. But it's not overtly kind of grotesque or jump scary. And this is a fantastic game to play with a friend. You kind of take turns and watch each other play, have a bit of a giggle, or with your missus, with your girlfriend. She's gonna love it. Give her a chance to play it. It's really intriguing and unique title, and it's one that I would suggest most of you go out and have a look at. For number 4, guys, I went with Doom. Now, I own the original Doom several times over across, PC and PlayStation, N64, Jaguar, etc. I mean, you could go on and on. Doom's been ported to most things. So when I saw that they were remaking Doom, I was really, really pleased. And even though I was, hoping for a Doom 4 and a sequel to Doom 3 in particular, what they've delivered here is a great game. The shooting feels right, just like they pulled off with Rage, which was the one thing that worked really well about that game. The engine is great. id Tech always brings something to the table, and this time the kind of dynamic volumetric lighting and stuff and the particle effects they've got going off just looks stunning. The game runs at a hell of a clip and plays super fast and aggressive, and the shooting just feels great. And I would recommend this to anyone that's into shooters. If you're into first-person shooters, it's a no-brainer. Check out Doom, guys. So, for number 3, I've gone with Quantum Break. Now, I can understand a few of the games I've mentioned before this have probably scored higher than Quantum Break, but for me, Quantum Break, I really feel like Remedy's, they've done it again. The story in this game is compelling enough to keep you playing to the end. It doesn't fizzle out or reach any kind of lulls, which is so common in games storytelling that I think it's quite an exceptional feat. the engine they've used, even though when it's not outputting in 1080p native, they've used some really clever effects, filters on the engine to actually make it, and I believe it looks a hell of a lot better than the majority of full 1080p games. I mean, the engine and what they're doing with the engine here, they're really pushing these consoles to the limits. And the gameplay is really solid. These are the guys that made Max Payne, the guys that made Alan Wake, and the third person shooting feels like a Max Payne superhero style shooting. When you kind of, not only have you got all the kind of slow down mechanics and the diving around and stuff, but now you've got all of these extra time powers to kind of manipulate the environment and the enemies around you. And I just, it was a thrill to play, and I really enjoyed these kind of big budget story driven games as well. So let's go to number 2, another big budget story driven game, Uncharted 4. So this was touch and go to being my number 1. The production values are amazing and intense. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was seeing from a PS4. Now, I have a very powerful gaming PC, and I don't have anything I can play on it that looks as good as this. This looks incredible. What they've done with the PS4 here is unbelievable. And not only does it look great, but they've nailed the characters and the characterization of all the different individuals in the game so well. We'll get to go into Drake's past like we haven't before. Sully's back and he's as great as ever. The banter is fantastic. The gameplay's been improved a little bit, and I was getting a little bored of the Uncharted gameplay, if I'm being honest. But by adding the grappling hook, what they've done is actually they've made the kind of getting around and the climbing a little bit more of a game, and a little less kind of hold one direction and see how you go. And they put in a new kind of like hand grip mechanic as well, which allows you to kind of reach out and figure out what is actually a decent hand grip and stuff like that. I mean, it's just they've just made it a little bit more of a game. They've added an unbelievable amount of graphic fidelity, and despite losing Amy Hennig, they've not really lost any of that story or characterization that they had before. And it's just they've just delivered a really complete package there, guys. So I know what you're thinking. What could possibly have pipped Uncharted 4 to number 1 spot? So, in the first 6 months of 2016, I believe the best game that any of you could go out and buy is Dark Souls 3. Now, please don't tune out and say, I don't like Dark Souls, the game's not fun, it's too hard, all the rest of it. Now, being a guy that imported the original Demon Souls before it was released in the West, and not knowing even how to level up, I understand completely where you're coming from, guys. All I would say is, give it a shot, go to a wiki, figure out the basics of what you need to know to kind of get over that initial hump, and then just delve in, guys, because FromSoft are delivering worlds and environmental storytelling that is beyond what other developers are capable of doing at the moment. The environments are just so fantastic. The creature designs are amazing. It's a genuine delight to play because you just don't know what's going to happen from moment to moment. The emergent gameplay and is amazing. The online's amazing. I've had a whale of a time with the game. I probably put in 70 hours so far. I did absolutely everything I could in the main game, and I'm going back for more on New Game Plus. And it's just such a revelation, that series. And despite this being something like the 5th real entry in this series, if you don't include like Kingsfield and stuff, it's just not getting boring. FromSoft are finding ways and mechanics and systems that just offer like unbelievable amounts of depth and replayability. And this is the kind of game, I mean, people will play through this game several times before the next one comes out, and they'll just New Game Plus again and again, try new builds, new classes, find out new parts of the story through item pickups and new NPC quests. The game's amazing. It looks amazing, it plays amazing, as always, and I really reckon you guys should check that out. Well, thanks for watching the video, guys. Really appreciate you sticking with me there for all of that. Look forward to the end of the year where we get to see if any of these are still on the list, and see what the next kind of 6 months brings us games wise. And if you enjoyed the video, guys, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.